叫び上げて心が晴れたら出発の合図を響かせゆこう
This is an original 1970s Ghetto Robo action figure still in the package. You say nerd, I say vintage classic. Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden is a strategy RPG for the PlayStation. Though plenty of games before it, Super Robot Wars is nothing new, but everything perfect with kick-ass animes thrown into the mix. Beautiful 2D graphics and stunning animations, branching paths and unlockable units, an original story that is not a pile of mashup bullshit, classic anime themes restored in karaoke form, gameplay that changes dynamically with every turn you take. All of this creates an unforgettable experience on a console with only a 33 MHz processor and one measly 700 MB CD. New Western Calendar Year 187, December. It has been several months since the finale of what would later be referred to as the Balmar War. While the Earth was saved from great danger thanks to the Lando Bell and SDF forces, this came at a heavy price. The shockwave generated by an ultra-gravitational collapse during the Balmar War's final battle would reach the Earth in 6 months' time, doing massive damage to both the colonies and the Earth's surface. However, this information was suppressed by the Titans, who dissolved the SDF and the Lando Bell forces and ensured that most people would never find out the truth. If this doesn't get your anime cock hard, I don't know what will. Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden is actually a side story to the main Alpha storyline. It actually is a pretty well thought out standalone story, and you do not need to play Alpha to understand what's going on. But there are several occasions where the story refers back to the events that happened in Alpha. Basically, the Lando Bell team is spread throughout the world. Suddenly, the Titans attack Sao Tome Lab. Jared demands that you hand over the Shin Ghetto Robo to further the Aegis project. The Getter crew is then confused on why the Titans know of Project Aegis in the first place. This game has a ton of story, and I'm not going to spoil any more of it for you. One of the best parts about this game is the story itself. The game follows a basic formula that works quite well. Let me tell you about the basic flow of the game before I go into the mechanics. Before you start a mission, you are at the main screen. Here you can upgrade your units and weapons, and add parts to increase multiple stats to your units. Put different pilots in other units, add on modules for your units, save and load your game. Also, you can start the next level whenever you're ready to. Next is where the bulk of the story takes place. Here, the character portraits talk to each other. This style definitely fits the game. There will be different sound effects going on, character portraits shaking, creating a great atmosphere without the use of cinematics. Next you go to the map screen, where some more dialogue is also said by the other characters. How the gameplay works is that you take turns. You start the mission on your turn, being able to move all of your units one at a time in any order. You select your unit, you move an RTS-like pointer and select your unit. This opens up a menu with many options. Move lets you position your character wherever the opaque squares are. Attack lets you choose multiple attacks that a unit can do. For example, most units have melee and ranged attacks. Though their melee and ranged attacks will be radically different depending on the unit and their stats, the range of the attack is limited to the red squares you see on the screen. Also, when an enemy is defeated, your pilot will gain experience points. After so many experience points, your pilot will level up. Spirit shows the different skills you can do. Leveling up the pilot will add different spirit techniques. And of course, all the female pilots have a heal other spirit ability. These spirit abilities definitely need to be mastered if you want to play Super Robot Wars effectively. In later missions, doubling your damage and keeping your units healed is imperative to your survival. Some units can fly, but this takes 1 energy point away with each turn. Some units can land and not take the penalty of flying. Some units can also combine with each other, and you can disassemble them as well. Status brings up all the stats of your unit. If you press the confirm button on an empty square, it brings up another menu. You can end your turn if you want, search through all of your pilot's spirit abilities that are on the map screen, see the units you have on the field, look at your mission's victory conditions. Finally, you can save your game in the middle of your mission and continue it later. This is good since in later levels of the game, missions can last up to an hour or longer. Now let's move on to the strategy portion. You can move then attack, or just attack for your first turn. However, if you attack off the bat, you cannot move and sometimes end up being a sitting duck. When you're in range to attack, you get a list of attacks to pick from. The target symbol means it is a ranged attack, and the fist symbol means it is a melee attack. Some attacks take up ammo, others take up energy, and some require a certain amount of will. You can relate will to morale. After you select attack, you must select the unit you want to attack. Then another screen will pop up showing your stats of your unit and the enemy's unit. Here you can see your accuracy, turn the attack animations off and on, turn support attacks off and on. The battles happen in little cutscenes. Your character shouts out standard battle quotes during their actions.
Now it's time for some retro anime attacks. Breast of Fire! Double Tomahawk! Boomerang! Chodenji Yo-Yo! Yoshi! Yaru zo! Mazinger Z! Breast of Fire!
Terrain also plays a big part in setting up your attacks. Different spots give you different properties, such as defense, accuracy, and dodge chance. Now it's the enemy's turn. Here you can only counter, but you can counter attack, dodge, or defend. Usually when I play, I turn off the animations only when it is the enemy's turn. After a few turns in some missions, reinforcements can arrive on either your side, the enemy's side, or both. Certain characters can interact with each other and create support attacks or defenses. A unit can take a hit instead of the intended target, or you can get a 1-2 punch on an enemy. After the mission, you are brought to another story screen where another part of the story continues. Most of the music that is in the game comes from the animes that the characters are from. They are intros or other well-known songs from that anime. However, these songs are in karaoke form and have no lyrics at all.
Believe me, after you heard the Mazinger Z theme so many times, you'll never stop singing that tune. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do.
The original music is fantastic as well, with nice calm melodies playing when selecting menus, and alert music that would even make Solid Snake jealous. The history of Super Robot Wars is an interesting one. On April 20th, 1991, the very first Super Robot Wars game came out on the original Game Boy. There were only 3 series featured on the very first game. They were the Universal Century Gundam Timeline, Mazinger, and Getter Robo. That is a really small roster when you compare it to later games in the series. Banpresto had no idea that this game was going to be a hit. Later, Super Robot Wars moved on to consoles. However, Banpresto still releases Super Robot Wars games on handhelds where it started it all. There has been a Super Robot Wars game on every single console in history, but the original Xbox, Wii, and PlayStation 3. Believe me, you can count on them coming out on the Wii and PlayStation 3.
You know, it's a real shame that us English speakers will never get to fully enjoy a Super Robot Wars game.
But wait, Aeon Genesis is quickly trying to translate all the Super Robot Wars games they can. Super Robot Wars on the Game Boy, Super Robot Wars 3, and Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden can all be played and enjoyed in English. At first, I was only interested in Super Robot Wars because of all of the Gundam animes that were in it. However, I soon found love in the other series within the game as well.
Super Robot Wars is a great way to find out about retro animes.
Another thing I'd like to say is, please don't go and play the PlayStation 2 or GameCube Super Robot Wars games first. You're only cheating yourself.
Now please, do yourself a favor and go play Super Robot Wars. For my next review, I'll be talking about a special Xbox 360 import title. Well, this is the import nerd saying, sayonara.